At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. Chief Meteorologist Mike Krueger. You're watching Coffee with Krueger every weekday morning at 7 a.m. And you know, another gorgeous day out there yesterday. Listen, I can sit here and go in the doom and gloom of the fact that we need the rainfall and all that good stuff. But you know what? It's nice. I mean, temperatures low 60s out there yesterday for many of us in the valley. Temperatures in the mountains were in the 50s, sunny skies. I mean, if you're a skier, maybe you're out at the Mount Shasta Ski Park, a beautiful day out there to get out there and enjoy some skiing. I would say, you know, I think some people like a little bit more of that fresh powder, all the works, but you know what? I mean, temperature-wise, absolutely gorgeous out there. And you know what? If you like the weather you saw yesterday, I think you're going to like the weather that we did see out there for today. We got Stephen Koch chiming in this morning saying, good morning in Durham. It's 34 degrees. And yes, it is a chilly start to the day. In fact, let's get you right to Krueger's Quickcast for your Thursday, January 16th. It is definitely that chilly start to the day. Let's take a look at some of those current temperatures out there right now. Hey, look at that. We're 1 degree above freezing in Reading. Yeah, there's some patchy frost out there. If you don't have the luxury of a garage, have your car parked in a garage, then you will have to scrape off some frost on your windshield, even in the valley. Now, of course, some of the easier ways is to, get your car started, let it warm up a little bit here, and that should kind of help take care of it. But you also don't want your car running with you not in it in the morning. We don't want any cars to get stolen, but you get the idea. It's a cold, chilly start to the day. Now, it looks like we're steering clear, barely, of the teens for many of the higher elevations, but there you can see 21 degrees for Alturas, 43 for Crescent City, 38 in Eureka. Out the door this morning, there's going to be some patchy fog, especially along the coast, and even looks like for some of those inland valleys as well. But otherwise, 20s, 30s for the higher elevations, and low 40s along the coast and in the valley at 8 o'clock this morning. Keep that in mind. Right now, it's obviously colder than that. Now, we still have that ridge of high pressure that's in place. It's, all the storms are riding up to our north. We, as a result, are still looking at dry conditions, plenty of sunshine in the forecast. Look at the winds out there right now. They're generally less than 10 miles per hour, so we're not looking at very strong winds out there this morning, or today for that matter. So it looks like we do expect to see those calm winds to continue for today, tonight, tomorrow, even into the first half of the weekend. I do expect some fairly calm winds out there. Temperatures are expected to be somewhere in the low 60s for your highs today in the valley, and for the mountains, mainly in the 50s. For the coast, looking at temperatures in the mid-50s for your daytime highs under mostly sunny skies. Let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for the valley. About 60 by the time we get into the weekend. Upper 50s to start off next week, but then we're back up into low 60s by Wednesday of next week. Looking at the coast, inland, and for Trinity County, of course, not much change going on there. Over the next 7 days, we have continued dry conditions as far as the eye can see at this point. Taking a look at Siskiyou, Modoc, and the Eastern Mountains, you of course have got to continue to see those temperatures dropping. In fact, by Monday, you're only looking at about 37 degrees in Susanville, low 40s for Siskiyou and Modoc County, but back in the mid to upper 40s for those areas by Tuesday, Wednesday, but in the low 40s out towards the Eastern Mountains in Siskiyou County. So again, it just doesn't look like we have much rain in the forecast. Let's get to some of the cameras out there this morning. We're taking a look at Lake Oroville out there this morning, and man, oh man, another beautiful sunrise shot that we are seeing out there in Lake Oroville. Let's take you out to North Forebay, and that's turning out to be a gorgeous shot there as well. It looks like we are seeing, of course, the mainly clear skies. Looks like somebody's out there in their kayak. Is that a kayak? Probably a kayak. Let's take a look at some other cameras out there this morning. And there you can see Main Street Chico, Highway 32. Looks like we are seeing traffic flowing smoothly there. And we've got Highway 99. This is at Neal Road. Traffic is flowing smoothly there as well. Taking a look at Highway 44 at Sundial Bridge Drive in Reading. Things are looking pretty good out there as well. We're going to take you out to Elk Country, just north of Trinidad out there this morning, and it's turning out to be a gorgeous morning there as well. Let's take a look at some of the cameras out there along the coast as well. Looks like we still have, well, look at this. This is a bit of a different story than what we've seen here for the last few mornings. You can see that we're beginning to see some of the low clouds and fog. Now, you saw that on the planner here for this morning, that there's going to be some fog. Looks like even a little bit of drizzle out there in parts of the coast as well. So we're certainly dealing with that out there this morning. Let's take you back to Elk Country, and let's see if we can see if there are any other cameras we can take a look at. I know that we've had some problems with the camera out in Turtle Bay at the Sundial Bridge, having some problems loading up, and looks like that is still the case. That's a bit of a bummer. Let's see if we can get the camera out at Mount Shasta Ski Park loaded up. Let's see if that loads up before I kind of get that going. Boy, it looks like we're having some problems with that one as well. All right, well, maybe not. Looking at any other cameras out there. Too bad. That's what I got to say. That's all I got to say. I got to love it when technology, internet doesn't always work perfectly for us, but you know, that's just kind of the reality of it all. Hey, you know what today is? Today is Thursday. We've got our NorCal Ag Report, which is sponsored by Lassen Canyon Nursery. And today, we've got Jerry O'Lennon. He was able to speak to the Ag Commissioner out there in Butte County to talk about kind of what's ahead for 2025. So here is this week's NorCal Ag Report, sponsored by Lassen Canyon Nursery.
Hi, I'm Jerry O'Lennon for Weather NorCal, and this is the Ag Report, sponsored by Lassen Canyon Nursery. I am with Butte County Ag Commissioner Louis Mendoza to look ahead to what's coming up in 2025 in Butte County. What is the status of agriculture in Butte County looking into the new year?
So for 2025, our top four crops are rice, almonds, walnuts, and prunes. I'll start with rice. Rice was around $21 a sack. We anticipate that being similar for 2024. We're hoping that for 2025 the price will increase and they'll have a better crop, a larger yield, and that we'll be able to plant full acreage in 2025. We were limited this in 2024 because of the late spring rains where growers were not able to plant all their acreage.
One of the things that people get concerned about is the prices of groceries. Is there any hope in the future, looking to 2025, that there'll be sort of things will ebb a little bit in terms of price? Are we in for inflation again in 2025?
That's a very tough question to answer. It just depends on what the markets will pay for ag commodities. At this point, I think we're looking at increases of returns to growers for almonds, walnuts, and probably rice in 2025. I don't know what effect that'll have on the cost of produce here in California.
There's been discussion of tariffs with the new administration. Will this be good or bad for growers in Butte County?
I think the possibility affecting growers is true. I think that once tariffs are in place, it could impact our ag industry. Last time we saw tariffs, I think in 2019, we saw our nut crops like almonds, walnuts, and pistachios that were severely impacted by the tariffs.
In a good way or a bad way?
I think negatively, because it limited the export market for certain nut crops in California. We have about 425 specialty crops in California. A lot of those were impacted with the tariffs.
Okay. Anything else people need to know about looking ahead to the new year?
No, I think we're just going to see how the markets play out. A lot of the commodities obviously were harvested in 2024. A lot of growers won't get paid for their full, for all the commodities until probably the first half of 2025. So we'll have a better idea of how the market shapes up by then.
Let's hope things turn out good in 2025, better than we've had the last couple of years, certainly with prices.
Absolutely. We're hoping for 2025 to be a great year for our ag industry.
All right. Thank you so much, Lee. And there's your ag report. I'm Jerry O'Lennon for Weather NorCal.
Once again, I want to thank Jerry O'Lennon for that report, a NorCal Ag Report. And of course, we can't forget about our sponsor, Kenny Owit over at Lassen Canyon Nursery, sponsored the NorCal Ag Report since it started and still going on strong with that NorCal Ag Report. So once again, I want to thank Lassen Canyon Nursery for their support. Well, hope you enjoyed that report here. We're going to take a look at some of what some of you are saying here this morning. As mentioned, Steve Koch in Durham saying it is a chilly 34 degrees right now there. We got everybody else saying enjoy your coffee. And it looks like Curtis Brown, which is 7 miles west. He's 7 miles west of Red Bluff. Another dry day and 38 degrees here this morning. So a chilly start. Yeah, there is definitely going to be some patchy frost out there early this morning. Well, what do you say we get to our regular deeper dive forecast? We took a look at the other forecast, and let's see if I can get that going here because, again, I'm kind of pushing buttons, making sure the audio is working, making sure everything's working properly, and it looks like something is maybe not working properly, so we can get it going. There it is. So let's get you to our deeper dive forecast. And of course, as you know, Coffee with Krueger would not be possible without our sponsor at Wind River Resort and Casino. Enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. Thanks to Wind River for their support of Coffee with Krueger and Weather NorCal in general. All right, so let's take a look at the temperatures out there right now. It is cold this morning. Look at that, 33 degrees. Now, some of you might be asking, well, why is it so much colder this morning than it was the last few mornings? Because there are many areas this morning that are not dealing with the winds that we've been dealing with. And, even though they haven't been terribly strong, all you have to do is get those winds up to 5, even 10 miles per hour. Excuse me. And suddenly you got that kind of mixing up the atmosphere. It prevents the temperatures from getting as cold as they could. And as a result, it's not as cold. However, now that the winds are calmer, most of us are in that mid-30 range, give or take. I mean, again, just 1 degree above freezing out at the Redding Airport, 37 in Chico. So these are all pretty much temperatures that do help to support the potential for some of that frost to develop on your windshield this morning if you don't have the luxury of being parked in a garage. There you can see in the 20s for most of the higher elevations and 30s and low 40s along the coast. So Coffee with Krueger, taking a look at your headlines here for today. Cool mornings, mild afternoons. That's the case the rest of the week and this weekend. Now the winds are expected to pick up here. I'm not expecting a major wind event as we go into this weekend, but especially Sunday into your Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Monday, looks like we may see those winds amplify a little bit. We'll get into that a little bit later. Also, I am beginning to see better signs of more consistency of some wet weather toward the end of this month. So we may be able to wrap up the month of January, hopefully with some wet weather. And again, I'm beginning to get a little bit more confidence that that may actually happen, because as I continue to look at all the forecast model runs hour by hour or each day, several times a day, I'm seeing that consistency in there. All right, let's take you to Southern California. Can just kind of keep you updated with what's going on there. The Eaton Fire, 45% contained. The Hearst Fire, 98% contained. And the Palisades Fire, 21% contained. You notice these colors here. They're all in that gray color. So you're at least 5, 6, even 7 days old as far as what the satellite is detecting as far as any heat signatures. And it hasn't detected any recent heat signatures over the last 4, 5, even 6 days. So that is obviously good news. What's not so great news is the red flag warning was supposed to expire yesterday, but we still have another red flag warning just north of Los Angeles, in effect until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Now, you'll also notice there are no wind advisories or high wind warnings or even watches, so that is a good sign. Conditions are improving for Southern California, and one of those signs are the winds. Of course, we saw that the winds for the most part are dying down. The other key is this. You know, we talk about the Santa Ana winds that come in from northeast down to the south and west. It comes down the mountains. It's pretty classic. We all know about it. It warms things up. It dries things out. We're not seeing that right now. In fact, we're seeing more of an onshore flow. That is what we want more of, because that not only brings in cooler air, but it also brings in a little bit more moisture as well. There tends to be a little bit more humidity associated with those winds coming off the ocean. Not as much humidity as, say, the Gulf of Alaska, as these are typically some colder waters, but that wind coming off the shore can at least bump up that humidity a little bit. There you can see the winds picking up again for tomorrow around midday, but notice still where the winds are coming from. They're coming from offshore and a little bit more due west, kind of along the mountains here. So this is not good to see. Even though it is coming from offshore, we don't want those winds to pick up, because that can flare up those fires. But you'll see here as we go into Saturday, overall the winds are dying down, shouldn't be much of a factor. So overall, conditions are certainly improving for Southern California, but there are still some dangers out there over the next couple of days. Let's take a look at the winds out there right now. I mean, they're mainly below 10 miles per hour for us here in Northern California. We take a look at the forecast winds, and there's noon today, mainly below 10 miles per hour. Let's take you into noon on Friday. Once again, mainly below 10 miles per hour. No big concerns with the winds. Now notice on Saturday, nothing really alarming, but you'll notice the winds are picking up a little bit here for the north end of the valley. They'll probably pick up even more for your Sunday. And there's a reason for that, and we'll get into that here in a second. But we still have this ridge of high pressure that's in place. That's essentially illustrated by the void of clouds in the western United States and over the eastern Pacific. All of these storms, they're butting up against the ridge, that energy being pushed to the north. Again, I sound like a broken record because this is all I've been talking about here so far this week. All right, so let's take a look at Futurecast. And this will kind of tell the story of a few different aspects that we need to look at. Number one thing you'll notice, not a drop of rain in our forecast here in the extended outlook. But what we're watching here is this ridge of high pressure right here. So as we go into Friday into Saturday, look what's happening. So again, I've been talking about this here, and it's been fairly consistent with this, that the tighter isobars, see these white lines, those are called isobars. And when they're tightly packed, that's showing where we're seeing some of the stronger winds. So those winds will be fairly strong during north and east. It is starting to try to inch its way into Northern California, and that's why you saw that slight increase in the winds here for the north end of the valley on Saturday. But as we go into Sunday, Monday, look what happens. See this area of low pressure right here is going to slowly migrate to the east. Eventually should be down to our south for Sunday and Monday. This will help to support slightly stronger winds for Sunday and Monday. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any moisture to work with, so it's not going to bring us any rainfall, maybe some clouds, but that's the extent of it. That then moves on out of here by Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. High pressure builds back in. You see how they have this nice prominent ridge of high pressure. The winds are dying down. This rain right here, if we were to extend this into next Friday, it would show it pushing through a little bit of the ridge of high pressure, but still breaking apart. But it would also show that maybe places like the coast, in particular Del Norte County, Siskiyou County, maybe even parts of Modoc County as well, seeing the potential for this to clip Northern California, maybe bring us a shot for some light showers, but nothing significant, nothing to write home about, and nothing guaranteed at this point. But I am seeing, again, more consistency in the long range that before the end of the month, we may see a better shot for some wet weather for everyone in Northern California. But still nothing to get terribly excited about and nothing guaranteed. but certainly something that I'm watching, and I'm starting to get more confidence that that may happen before the end of the month. Drier than normal conditions, though, through January 26th. We take a look at the lake levels. They're still at least about 124% or higher for the historical average, so that's looking good. Ski report, still looking good out there as well. We've got those bluebird days. Is that what they call them? I think it's, yeah, the bluebird days. And there you can see, looking at some pretty good snowfall depths out there, as well as the number of runs that are open, mainly 100% open in most cases. So let's take a look at your wave heights as we take you into the next couple of days. Today, they're not going to be all that dramatic. We take you into your Friday, not that dramatic either. They may increase a little bit here, but nothing to be concerned about at this point. No small craft advisories, just some of that patchy morning fog. We're already seeing some of that fog as we saw in the Crescent City area, and there's probably more of that along the coast. Winds from the north at about 5 to 10 knots today, with your waves from the west at 7 feet and about 14 seconds. All right, let's take a look at your forecast for today, starting off with Trinity County neighborhood forecast, and along the Highway 299 corridor, upper 50s. That's also the case for Highway 3, taking to the south, mid to upper 50s for your daytime highs. 56 degrees for Forest Glen, Ruth about 59, and 56 degrees for Wildwood. Still, as you can see clearly, dry conditions for the next 7 days. That's also the case for the North Coast, with highs around the upper 50s to about 60 for those daytime highs there. 56 in Ferndale, Rio Dell 57, as well as Fortuna, and 58 degrees in Hydesville. Take you up to Blue Lake with a high of 58, 59 for a high today in Hoopa, 56 for Trinidad, and Eureka, a high today of about 55 degrees, 54 degrees for Gasquet, 61 for Orleans, 58 degrees in Smith River, and Crescent City, a high of about 54 degrees. Your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast, Highway 96 corridor, mid to upper 50s, I-5, just like yesterday, in the low 50s for those daytime highs, a bit cooler. Right around 50, give or take, for Scott Valley, with 49 degrees for Greenview, 53 in Callahan and Etna, a high of about 50. Central, eastern Siskiyou County, 47 degrees indoors, 51 for Weed, 53 in McLeod, as well as Mount Shasta City and Dunsmuir, about 55 degrees. And for Modoc County, you've got temperature of about 50 for Fort Bidwell, 48 degrees in Newell, and 51 degrees in Likely. Your Eastern Mountains neighborhood forecast, 49 degrees out in Hack Creek, 56 for Montgomery Creek, and 58 degrees in Paynes Creek. All right, let's take you to the south portions here, out towards Lake Almanor, Lassen Park. Around the perimeter of the lake, mid to upper 40s, although Chester about 50, and then out the north entrance, out at Manzanita Lake, a temperature of about 46 degrees today. Paradise, a high of 59, 52 in Quincy, 47 degrees in Portola, and looks like Susanville, a high of 50 degrees today. Your Valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by Walgamith Painting. Your temperature is in the low 60s for today, 62 degrees for Corning, 62 degrees for Elk Creek, and Gridley, a high of about 61 degrees. 62 for a high today in the city of Shasta Lake, 60 in Lakehead, 63 for Redding, as well as Anderson. And looking at your 7-day outlook for Redding, we got those temperatures generally in the low 60s here through the weekend, upper 50s by your Martin Luther King Jr. Day as well as Tuesday. And yeah, I mean, again, showing signs of the lack of rain because, you know, typically we see those temperatures drop a bit as we start seeing the potential for rain, but temperatures actually going back up by Wednesday of next week with a high of about 63 degrees. So we just don't have much rain in the forecast here anytime soon, but as I mentioned, as I look some of the long-range forecast models, I am seeing better signs and more consistency, that is, at least in taking a look at what we've got going on when it comes to the amount of rainfall that we've got coming in. More consistency in the potential for some wet weather before we wrap up the month of January. So it's been fairly dry. It will be fairly dry most likely through next week. But after that, as we extend into the last week of January, I am seeing some of those more consistent signs in the long-range forecast models for maybe some wet weather. Let's see here what some of you are saying out there this morning. Just a lot of good mornings, which I certainly appreciate that. Starting to look like spring. Yeah, I'd say so. We've got someone, LaDonna, I believe is how you'd say that name, is saying that looking at going to Crescent City soon. Good weather. Well, you know, that term or that phrase, good weather, just depends on who you are and what you consider to be good weather. But If you consider dry conditions with temperatures in the mid to upper 50s, even some low 60s along the coast, should be okay. We're seeing some of that fog out there this morning in Crescent City this morning. In fact, let's see if we can show you some of the cameras out there. Again, we'll take you out to Crescent City this morning. And some people don't necessarily consider this to be good weather. So, but it looks like it'll most likely burn off here before we get to the noon hour. But, you know, this is pretty typical where we start to see some of that morning fog. And this, of course, could create some problems if you do need a small boat, maybe go fishing. So you may have to hold off a little bit later before you maybe get out on that fishing boat. Let's take a look now at Elk Country, just north of Trinidad. We're not seeing the fog there. So it looks like conditions are a bit better over there along the coast. We take a look at some other cameras out there this morning, and this is what it looks like in Lake Oroville. Again, you can see the reflection off of that water there, or kind of the wet spillway turning. Looks like it's most likely a beautiful sunrise, and the next camera angle that comes up will probably show that, and boom, there it is, looking absolutely gorgeous when we are talking about that sunrise. Catherine Schmidt saying, first hummingbird showed up yesterday. Bet he wishes he had waited a little late. Yeah, probably. There's a look at, again, we're going to wrap it up with some cameras here and wrap up another edition of Coffee with Krueger every weekday morning at 7 a.m. Hope you have yourselves a great Thursday, and we'll see you again here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Until then, you can also check my latest forecast at noon and again this evening at 6 p.m. Till then, have a great morning, and we'll see you tomorrow.